in the last class, we talked about the surfaces, and then we looked at this business of continuity of curves and surfaces and what they mean. We will be revisiting this in a short while when we again look at quality of surfaces, but for now we have just defined the two kinds of continuity. Essentially, keep in mind that in one, the derivative, both magnitude and direction are the same, whereas in the other, only the direction is the same and the magnitude can be different. So as you can see from this picture here. Then looked at one problem, which is the surface intersection problem. And the idea is to find the intersection of two surfaces given. And we highlighted this fact that, while we have the following four possibilities as the outcome of the intersection, right? I can get a set of curves, I can get no intersection, I can get a point, or I may even get a surface patch because they may be overlapping. It turns out that the solutions techniques that we have can only give you the first two, right? Either curves or that they don't intersect. It cannot find points of intersection, that is when the intersection is only at a distinct point, or if the surfaces overlap. Both are not feasible. We then looked at an overview of the process. I mean, the detail is probably not significant for us, but from the overview of the process, I hope you are now convinced that what we are getting as a result of the solution is a set of points, right? While we have said that the outcome will be a set of curves or null, right? Out of these two possibilities, but the solution that we get is only a set of points, right? And therefore, we have an issue because to get the curves that are the result, right, we have to essentially go through this additional step of curve fitting, right? And as we said, that the two possibilities that we encountered in curve fitting is if I take the number of control points of the new curve, the fitting curve, to be the same as the number of points that have been given, then you are expecting an exact solution. Okay, but like I said, the situation that prevails in the intersection problem is that the number of points that you get can be quite large. Okay, because of my difficulties in drawing it here, I get a smaller number of points. We will see an example or an illustration further down, which will show you actual numbers. And we find that the situation that is more likely to prevail is that the numbers of curve are larger than the number of control points that you want, and therefore you are reconciling yourself to a solution which is not exact. Okay, now this has very great implications actually for us. So, the surface intersection problem has been the sort of the weakness or the Achilles heel of most CAD systems, even now, right? I mean, and I will illustrate that partly now and partly when we do solid models. Let me just stop for a minute and just check if there are any questions that I can answer from any of you. Any questions?
Sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, general question.
Yes.
So while we do the scanning, like we explained about the scanning and
Yes.
that thing. So during that period, does the image processed by the system is a single surface or multiple surface?
Okay. You will have to go with my sketching skills, but let me see. Okay, so let's say, let's say I have a surface that sort of wraps around itself like that. Okay, let me make this a little sharp, right? So that's my surface. Okay, now typically a scanner, right? I mean, assuming that this is the top surface, right? And it's sort of kept on a table, you would assume, I mean, you'll probably realize that, some ports, some portions of the surface that are turning in, right, will not be scanned because, it will be obstructed by the region on top. Okay. Now, what happens here then is typically you do it in two steps, right? So you do measurement of points maybe up till here or up till here and stop, and then sort of turn this around that way and then measure this portion here. Right. So that's, one way that you get two distinct sets of points for the same surface. Okay, but if I have my, there's another reason why this kind of split can happen, even though my surface is single, is that, if I have a scanning head, right, and I have a light source, right, it will have a field of view. Okay, and that may be smaller than my surface. And this typically happens, right? So if this is about 1 meter long, then chances are that you will not be able to scan the entire surface in one go. Just some techniques. Okay, if there is a device which just scans right from left to right, mounted on a gantry head or a robotic head, then it does not matter. But if this is like a camera, right, that you hold in your hand and move it, or hold it on a tripod and move it, right, then it has a field of view which is finite compared to the length or the span of the surface, and therefore you do have to do this repeated times. Okay, this is how the input data gathering gets fragmented because of limitations of the scanning scheme, right? But the portion that it scans, right, it will give you a bunch of data. So I will have now a bunch of data corresponding to this portion. So let me mark that in one color, right? So I have points in this region, and then I have points in this region. Right? Now, before you build the surface, right, the surface fitting problem, you will try and register these 2 points with respect to some common reference frame. And therefore, you can then treat them as one single point cloud, which you will fit with a single surface. So the scanner, right, it does not know whether it is actually scanning a single surface or multiple surfaces. It knows of a field of view, right? So one snap, I give you a bunch of points. That's what the scanner knows. Now, whether it is from a single surface or multiple surfaces is left to the person who is using the scanner to take the points. On a single surface, I can get multiple sets of points which have to be then registered and merged together, right? Because this was gathered in one orientation of the part, this was gathered in another orientation of the part. So you will have to transform them with respect to some common reference frame so that I get a bunch of points, all of them defined with respect to this. Okay. Likewise, when my field of view is limited, right, I will get multiple such snapshots. Okay, and chances are there are some overlap between each of these. Now, these have to be then merged together, form a single data set for this entire surface. Right. So for this surface, I want a single, reference frame and all the points in that reference frame. And hopefully these overlapping scans also removed. The way the machine or the scanner does that is by keeping a datum or a reference for each of these steps. So this overlap actually helps it in identifying, how to put these things together and convert it into a single point set corresponding to a larger surface. Okay, so that step is known as registration or correspondence. So To repeat, the scanner does not see it, does not know whether it is picking points of a single surface or a composite surface or whatever. Right? It only sees what is below its field of view. The entire surface can be in its field of view if it is a robot mounted, sheet of light or a line of light kind of a scanner, or if it is some kind of a range camera, right? A photogrammetry device where it has a field of view, then that's the surface it sees. After getting the points to convert them all into a single surface is the job of the person sitting on this side of the screen. Okay.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, so the issue of the non-exact still exists in the scanning system or just in the CAD system design?
No, say it again, please. I lost you a bit in the middle.
Sir, when scanning, we make the whole thing, right? Like we just have to scan the system. Like
yes.
when we are making in CAD system, we are making two separate sheets and kind of trying to make them exact. So which is under control.
Hang on a minute. So you have a physical prototype that you are scanning.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, and you know that it is a single surface when you are scanning?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now, what are you saying about CAD now? In CAD, that is not modeled as a single surface, is it?
Sir, I'll give you an example. So I've seen in YouTube video that the Porsche, they use the clay modeling car
yes.
system. So there they use.
Understood. Now I understand what you're saying. Okay, I understand the context now you're coming from. Yes. So it could well be that, let me just draw only for a curve right now because it is getting harder for me to. Let's say your scan from left to right, the extreme of the part. Well, this doesn't look like the body of a Porsche car, but okay, let's something. And this is the set of points you got. Okay. Now, your question, if it was that, do we model this as multiple surfaces? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Okay. Now, why and how it happens? Okay, there are two folds, right? One is that functionally there is some difference between this portion here and this portion here. Think of a door in the car, right? So when I take the scan and of the whole car in the clay model, right, I won't have put in the detail of the door, right? But in the real part, that must come as a separate piece, and therefore I model it as a separate piece, right? So that is a functional kind of a segmentation of points. Now there is another reason why you may want to model this as multiple surfaces, and that is that I cannot model this whole thing as a single surface. Now, why is that? The reason is that you basically will do some kind of surface fitting here. Okay. You do surface fitting to take these points as input and find a surface. Now, if it was a nice simple surface, yes, I could take all these points and fit you a single surface that you can then work with. But reality is never like that. There are other issues, difficulties, which is that I have, let's say, 10,000 points on this as an input. Clearly, I will not go with 10,000 control points. So I may have, let's say, 15 control points. So which means that this will not be an exact solution. And therefore, I need to, do some tricks to make sure that I can fit a reasonable surface to this. So one of the tricks happens to be that I will do it piecewise, meaning I may segment it here, I may segment it there, I may segment it there, and then say that, okay, this will be fit with one patch, this will be fit another patch, this will be with another patch and another patch. So two things. One, functionally, I may need them to be separate surfaces. The bonnet of the car, right? The back hood, the door, these are all have to be separate surfaces. The windshield, right? That is one reason why you may separate them. The other reason is that I may not be able to fit a single surface to these points. See, the points have some significance. They have to be on the final surface you create. And I may not be able to create a single surface that fits all of these points. And so I will localize the fitting problem by saying I'll fit one over this region, one over this region, one over this region. So you will have multiple surfaces. Okay. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Mostly, sir. Like I'm really struggling with the. Not exactly. Like when we are patching to surface, so the not exact thing. Like R is really greater than M. So output won't be as exact as we need, right?
Yes.
So
here is the issue that you need. No, okay. So the point if you just stay with the curve example for a minute, right? Let me see if I can make it a little clearer, right? See, one of the things we said was that if I don't have a good solution at the end of the first round, I can increase the number of points, control points, right? But there's a point beyond which you will not want to increase. Right? If you sort of keep increasing it to 100 and still you're not getting a, let's say 001 as the maximum error, something less than that, right? Then what are your options? It turns out that one of the options is for you to split these things into smaller segments and then fit them individually. Now, what that does is the price you pay for that is effort, right? Because you will get a much nicer fit here and a much nicer fit here, but you also have to worry about what happens at the junction. Now, this has to be done manually now. If it was a single surface or a single curve, you know that it will be continuous. You don't have to do any work at all. But because you have split it to improve the fit performance, right? You would have to spend additional effort here to make sure that you have tangent continuity or curvature continuity. That's manual effort. Right? So, you know, that's the problem why you will need multiple surfaces, as I said, are twofold. One, that you want them to be functionally separate, and two, you cannot otherwise get a good fit to the input points that you have received.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. So that's the surface intersection problem. And the point where we sort of stopped is that we said that the surface curve fitting will not be exact. What that means then is that I don't have the exact curve. So how do I address this problem? Now, there are two kinds of issues with this curve fitting problem. One, that it is not exact, right? Not exact. But there's a related problem which begins to haunt us, is that the intersection curve may not even lie on the two surfaces. Now that's a bigger disaster, right? Because I have these points. These lie exactly on both the surfaces, the red surface as well as the green surface. But when I fit a curve through that, right, the guarantee, if anything, even if I do this exact solution, is that the curve will only pass through, what color have I not used here? The curve will only pass through these points here. Okay. Elsewhere, we don't know what is happening, and it may well not even lie on the two surfaces. And so you are actually not getting any solution worth anything at all from this exercise. Okay. So let me just that. I don't know if it's at the end of this. No, not at the end of this. Okay, so let's go back to this example, and this is, you know, somewhat similar to what we were looking at. These are the two surfaces, the red and the blue, right? The red is defined over some interval space, parametric space R and T, right? And so we have a mapping, from this parametric space to points on this surface. The blue is another parametric space UV, and again the surface 2 will come map a point here to the surface there. And the idea is that we want to do the intersection between these two surfaces, and you can actually see a very clear, curve of intersection that your goal is actually here. It's very clearly seen, right? Now, what we did, remember, was that we said S1 equals S2, right? And we sort of discretize one and then find points, and therefore the net result is that I get a set of points, in this case, which are R star and T star for one surface, and U star and V star for the other surface. Right? That's what I get from solving this. By fixing one, I solve for the others and I get that. That's how you get the solution. We have seen this. So if you look at the result, right, we have plotted the R star T stars and the U star V stars here in this. Okay. And you can see that that's the way it is, because in the blue surface, it goes from one edge to the other, whereas in the red surface, it's stuck to one corner. Right, so these are the intersection points that we have got. Now, remember I said that one option some of you pointed out was that I can take the points of intersection that I get, right, and I can convert them to X star, Y star, and Z star, right? And then fit a curve through that. Okay, so what that means is that I have these X star, Y star, Z stars that have been marked here, right? The yellow and the blue, they're all on the curve of intersection. Okay, but here they are in the real space and here they're in the parametric space. And the point we made was that if you fit a curve through these points, right, we will not get an exact solution, and therefore the curve will not lie on either surface. Right? So what do we do at regions elsewhere then? How do I get a curve that at least lies on the surface? Note that these intersection points will not lie on either surface, right? I mean, intersection curve, sorry. It will neither lie on the blue surface nor lie on the red surface. So one of the options that is suggested to address this problem, at least, is that you fit a curve not in the real space, but in the parametric space. Okay, meaning that you create one curve here, I call it C1, of some alpha will give us R and T. Okay, so that's the R and T space, and I fit a curve through them, right? This is the same curve fitting problem, except that now it is in 2D. So this is my parametric variable alpha, and these are my space coordinates X and Y. In this case, they happen to be R and T. Okay, same thing I do here. I say C2 of maybe another parameter beta. It can be alpha also, it doesn't matter, U and V, and I can find this curve here. So now that curve, again, will not be exact, right? Because I have far too many points to have as control points. Therefore, I may get, some kind of deviations from these. Okay, that's how the curve might look. Now, while there are errors between the point and the curve, because it's a planar problem, the curve will always be in the UV space. And likewise here, this curve will always be on the RT plane. What that means is that the remaining points on my curve of intersection are also in the UV plane. And when I map that back, so if I take every point here and map it to the 3D space, right, that curve will also lie on the blue surface, guaranteed to lie on the blue surface. Likewise, if I fit a curve through these and I map all the additional points that I get, right, on the curve to the red surface using the surface equation, I will get that those points all define a curve that lies exactly on this surface. It won't come out of the surface. It may not be the curve of intersection. Why? Because, you know, there are deviations here. Right? In between these points, there are deviations. We don't know how much, and the fitting also is not exact, and therefore I will not be able to say that it's the curve of intersection. The only thing I'll be able to say is that this curve will map exactly to this surface and lie on that surface. But I have two curves of intersection, one lying on the red surface and one lying on the blue surface. And that's what is marked out in the next case here. Right? So supposing now if you project the surface curve you fit in this surface onto the corresponding, in this parametric space onto its corresponding surface, and the curve you fit here, which is the UV space, and map it to this, right? You get these points, right? They lie on the respective surfaces, but if you look at the intersection curve that you get, there actually is a gap between the two curves. There is one intersection curve on the red surface and one intersection curve on the blue surface, and there happens to be a gap in between the two. Okay, so that is a problem. Now, how much of a problem it is, okay, we will have to see in a minute. We won't see it right now. We will see it as we go forward. But for now, that's the problem that I want to highlight and leave you with. That the surface-surface intersection problem, because it does not give you a curve, it only gives you points, right? And then going from the parametric points to the Cartesian space, right here to the Cartesian space, I can get intersection points, but I cannot fit a curve through them, which lies on both the surfaces. The curve will neither lie on this surface nor lie on this surface. And so what we do instead is that we treat it, we fit a curve in the parametric space and map the points on the curve to the corresponding surface. So I will get two curves of intersection, one lying on the red surface and one lying on the blue surface, and therefore there is a gap between the two intersection curves. Even though we know that it has to be it is the curve of intersection, therefore there can be no gap. This is purely an artifact of our computation. It is not a reality, but it is an artifact of the fact that we cannot compute intersection correctly. Okay, so this hurts us in many ways, and all of them will come through when we start looking at the modeling of solids. And so I will come back to the same picture when we are talking about solids, and you will see where the pain point comes from, you know, this bad intersection utility. Okay, so pretty much that is everything that we want to look at in surfaces. And as you may see, we have spent much less time on surfaces, but the reason why we spend much less time is that the focus here is not so much on the representation, but on the definition or the construction of the surface. And then this problem with the surface-surface intersection. Those are the only two main points in surface construction that we need to worry about. Okay, so we are now ready to sort of start looking at the next dimension, right, which is solids, right? But before we do that, because your colleague asked this question, right, of scanners and surfaces, there's one point that came up during the discussion. I thought I must talk a little bit about that, right? Which is just like we did curve fitting, right? There is another way of constructing a surface, which is by providing points on the surface. Right? I have a bunch of points on the surface, and I need to fit a surface to that. So the 2D analog of curve fitting, which is surface fitting. Okay. Now, there are two parts to this problem. Okay. One is where I have a nice input data which comes in the form of a grid, right? The way I have drawn here. Maybe I'll make it a better grid, right? So these are input points, right? And so I have a u direction and a v direction, and the points are all along the u and the v direction. Right. Now this problem of fitting points given like this to a surface can be easily done by, extending the same idea that you had for curve fitting to surface fitting. Right, because I can assign values of u to points along this side, v along that side, and then essentially it amounts to solving a linear equation in the unknowns, right? So it is straightforward, right? So if you were to just see this, I have Q, R, S, right, along the two directions. So this is R, and this is S, right? And this is I, and that is J. And this is control points, input points, the parametric vector. Okay. So this is equal to double summation of Pij n j k of u n j l of u. Right? And since I can assign the u values and v values to the input points using the techniques along the curve and the two directions, I can solve this equation. So it's a extension of the curve fitting problem. But supposing, right, I have a cloud of points or a bunch of points scanned from a surface, but they look like this, right, instead, which is that I sort of have, one. Okay. So notionally, right, what seems to have happened is that my surface, if I just draw the outer span of the surface, got turned around a bit before you did the scanning, and therefore, while the scan direction is that, right, my parametric directions appear to be that. Right? And therefore, now the problem of given the input point to find the parameter associated with that point becomes much harder. Right? Because, I mean, if you see it, yes, you can make out, oh, this looks to be my parametric space corresponding to this. But if you just have a bunch of data points, right, without the human element looking at it from the side of the screen, the computer cannot make out what the parametric directions are, and therefore it cannot use this idea to solve the problem. Right? And therefore, your issue remains that for every input point here, right? So I will now treat of the thing as an array of points because there is no grid available with me, right? How do I assign the values of u and v to that? Okay, that becomes the big problem. Once you do that, then it is possible to solve this equation in a slightly different way. But once this assignment is done, it is possible. How do I assign this now when you don't know where your parametric directions are? See, in the case of a curve, it doesn't matter because there is only one direction. There is a start and there is an end. Therefore, that becomes my direction of u. Here, it is not the case, right? I need to know what is u and what is v, right? And my measurement grid is not necessarily aligned with this. So how can you automatically assign this? right? It turns out that you actually cannot, right? And so this surface fitting problem also is something that you cannot do automatically. You will have to do it with the human involved and sitting in front, guiding the fitting process. Okay. I'm going to just lay out the process, of what you could do when you try to do it automatically. But we will not elaborate on the details because the solution is not very robust yet. So essentially, the way this works is that you have this bunch of points in space, so you project them onto a plane. Oops, sorry. So you take these points and project them onto a plane, right? And so now these are all points in a single plane. So it's not a 3D set of points, but a 2D bunch of points. Okay. So that's just a projection step. So you project it onto some plane so that it becomes a planar problem. Now, once it becomes a planar problem, it becomes very easy to fit a quadrilateral around the boundary of these points. Okay, so there are techniques to fit a quadrilateral around, fit a quad or rectangle. That is what you would prefer. And therefore, now I have this boundary and a bunch of points. Right. So these bunch of points are, let me call them as x prime, y prime, right? You start with an x, y, z. Then you get an x prime, y prime, and then you sort of find the rectangle around that. And then you basically squish this quadrilateral to form a unit square. And then all the points are also squished inside that somehow appropriately. Whatever is the transformation you use it on all the points and they get sort of squished inside. And let's say these are x double prime, y double prime, because there is a transformation. So this has some different sizes. You basically transform it so that this becomes unit sized square, and therefore all these points will also get transformed. And all this is happening inside a plane, right? And these x prime, y prime, because remember this is going from 0 to 1, this is going from 0 to 1, are nothing but the UR and the VR corresponding to that point. So if I had a point here that ended up, let's say, too many points. So let's say it ended up there, let's say it ended up there, and let's say it ended up there. Now I know what the UV value corresponding to that point is. So I associate it with this point, and then I can proceed to solve the problem. Okay, that's roughly the process that the system has to do. Now, taking a bunch of points on a plane and fitting a quad or a rectangle, this can be done automatically. Taking a quad or a rectangle which is odd shaped and converting it into a unit square can also be done automatically. Right? But this problem of finding the plane in which to project these points, can that be done automatically? Any guesses? Well, it turns out that that is the bottleneck. Right? Now, if you have a surface like this, there are techniques that you can find that you should project it onto the plane, which is the screen of the computer. But what happens if I have a surface that looks like this? Okay. Now here, some may argue that there could be a plane in this direction where I can project all these points. And supposing if I, fold this up a little bit from here, okay, then you know that it folds over and therefore I may not have a unique projection. For every point here, I want a unique UR-VR. Correct? That's the whole point of my surface representation. That for every UV, I get 1 point in the space. There must be a unique kind of thing in this direction. Right? Therefore, I cannot have a situation where 2 points on the surface project to the same point here, which means that for the same UV, I get 2 points. That cannot happen. My polynomial will not allow me that. Right? My polynomial expression is guaranteed to give me a unique value for every UV. And therefore, this it becomes a necessity that every point in the input data set uniquely, projects to a point in this step. And to find the plane where it can be projected uniquely is not possible automatically, and therefore this is done manually. And there are instances, think of an S, which is bent quite a bit. You'll agree that there is no direction in which I can project this so that the one-to-one map is maintained, right? Here, these two will overlap when I go in this direction. When I come in this direction, these will overlap. When I come in this direction, something else will overlap. And therefore, here, the only way you can proceed with the surface fitting is to actually segment this. Right? So that's another reason why you end up segmenting large clouds of points, because you cannot otherwise assign unique UV values to them, right? By just looking at the cloud of points or automatically. Both are not possible, right? And therefore, you have to actually, interactively sit in front of the screen and decide that I would split it here and maybe somewhere else. In this case, of course, I have drawn the two places where you will split it, right? And then fit them separately and then make sure that they join with each other with some continuity that is desired. Okay. So unlike the curve fitting problem, which can be done completely automatically, the surface fitting problem requires human intervention. And the same way, the surface where to split, right, and which points to pick is something that is to be done interactively. Right? Now, there is another issue that some of you may appreciate, which is that, if I don't have clean set of points on the boundary, to actually find the boundary of the quad rectangle is also probably not that easy for programs. And so the user has to sit after the projection and sort of demarcate the 4 boundary curves, the 4 boundaries of the rectangle, with which you can process later to find the UV values. So unlike curve fitting, which can be a simple process as far as the user is concerned, there is not much that the user needs to do except to specify the tolerance, right? Here, that the same user has to actually find the plane in which this can be projected, decide whether it can be done with a single surface or multiple surfaces, and then break each of those surfaces into these kind of quadrilaterals. All of that has to be done. And once this is done, then this part of it can be done automatically and obtain the UV. And once the UV is obtained, I can fit a surface to that part. I can fit another surface to this part. That can be done automatically. And then the user has to go in again and tweak the junctions here so that you get the desired continuity. Okay, so that's where we are as far as the surfaces are concerned. So let me now stop for a minute and ask a question to you folks, that with whatever we have done so far, right, are we in a position to represent all surfaces that you are likely to encounter? Or is there any surface that you cannot represent with the techniques that we have talked about so far? Any thoughts? Well, let me then throw one example at you. So you can easily represent a surface that looks like this, right? there's no problem. You can find out a representation for such a surface. Now, the same surface, let's say, oops, the whole thing went off. Huh? Sorry. I do that, right? Essentially, what have I done? I have taken a small portion out from this surface and I get the remaining surface. Can I represent that? Can this expression that we have seen, S of uv, right? Can this represent this surface? We said that this is a map from a unit square, u and v, right? A point here will map to a point there. This is S of uv, the mapping. But I hope you see the problem that when this is the extreme 1, 0, right? And so when u crosses some value here, when v crosses some value there, etc., right? You get points represented by this equation, but they don't lie on my surface. Why? Because I now have trimmed my surface of some portion of the overall patch. Right? I have removed this portion from this, but I have not told it here. This still thinks that u belongs to 0, 1 and v belongs to 0, 1 also. Now, I can do more things. I can cut a hole in the middle. Right? I can punch a u slot in the side. So can a representation like this represent a surface that looks like that? I hope you see that the answer is no, right? Because this only tells me that I need to go from 0 to 1, and when I go from 0 to 1, I will also generate these portions as part of the surface, which they are not, and therefore I will be making a mistake. So how do I represent this then? What can we do? Yes.
Maybe subtracting the surface. This section,
okay.
Can be represented as a surface, and removing it from that.
So what you are saying is that I prescribe the surface as a surface which was originally defined by S of uv, and then I subtract this, I subtract that, and I subtract that. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So the only problem with that is that you're still not giving me a representation for this patch. You are giving me how to construct this patch. You are saying take a patch that is defined by S of uv and then go in and remove this portion, go and remove this portion, and go and remove this portion, right? That only tell me how to do it. But what I'm interested in finally is a representation for this surface, which is what I'm interested in. This is still not giving me a representation. It only tells me construction.
Points from periphery.
Yeah.
Or the holes, you can take the points and then we can make the surface directly.
Sorry, you'll have to say it again. I lost you in the beginning a bit.
Like we can find the points of the periphery of the slots. Then
okay.
We can directly make the surfaces.
Okay, so you are in the right direction. So you're saying that I find the boundaries of these regions, and then what do I do?
And then we can make the surface as usual, like taking the points.
How? Then how can I get the points correctly? Because what do I use to evaluate the points on the curve, on the surface? So your task now is to give me a representation that can allow me to generate these points, the ones that I've hatched in red here. Your idea of the boundary was correct. So what we propose is that for such a surface, right, we have two things now to carry with us. One is this domain or the overall geometry of the surface, which is this S of uv. So I have all these points with me, right? But another piece of information, which what your colleague said as boundary curves here, right, which sort of tell me what portion from this constitutes the portion of interest to me. Right? What I mean by that is that I want to delineate in this overall region that I am only interested in the region formed by this boundary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have geometry, which is this equation of the surface. So that's geometry. And I have this additional piece of information, which are these boundary curves, you know, which tell me that this is the portion of the geometry that we are interested in. Okay. Now, how do I represent this portion of the geometry? Like your colleague said, with the boundary curves, right? Which is not just a boundary curve, but also oriented boundary curve. Now, why is the orientation important? The orientation is important because a curve like this will split my surface in two parts, right? And you need to tell the system which part of the surface that you need to keep or that is of interest to me. And the way we do that is by prescribing an orientation which indicates a protocol that as I traverse that edge in the orientation given, the material of interest will always be to my left. Okay, that's one protocol. It could be the opposite. It can become another protocol. Right? So therefore, that's what now happens, which is that I have one piece of information, which is my surface geometry. And now I carry another piece of information, which says that I have these edges, E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, and E7. We'll add the middle hole also in a minute. But let's say this is my geometry. And each E1, then, you know, I can define its boundary as V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, V7, and V1, right? And therefore, the second piece of information I store is a list of edges, E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7, and then it turns back on E1, or I can store it as vertices V1 all the way till V1. Okay, so the point I'm wanting to make is that you are storing two things now. One, which is the underlying geometry, and two is this, you know, boundary of the region that is of interest to you. The way you need to think of this is, you know, think of this as a cookie cutter, right? So you can have cookie cutter of different shapes. You know, you have a shape like a clover, you have a shape like a diamond, right? And you have a shape like a square and so forth, right? Or maybe you even have a shape like the one that we just have drawn here. Okay, so these are all, you can think of shape as the cookie cutter, right? The templates that you have created. The surface geometry that I'm saying here, think of it as your, as your kadai, right? There is your frying pan, right? You have this, inverted you have this, and a flat griddle you have this, right? So I can, if you think, put your dough on this and cut it with this, you will get a surface that looks like this. If you cut it in this, it will look somewhat like this. It will look like that. And if it was here, it will look like this. Right? So this controls what we call the geometry. And this controls what we call the boundary, or a fancier word for it, topology, connectivity, whichever word. So all these words are used. And the reason why is because this representation that we have is always stuck to be four-sided. Right? And we will have surfaces which are not four-sided. Right? You want to run a cable through this, you want to run a pipe through the side, many things that you want to do. Right? And therefore, you end up with trimmed patches like these. And the way to represent the trimmed patches is to retain the underlying geometry, which tells you whether you are going to keep it on a vessel like this, or like this. And this tells you the cookie cutter that you need to use on that. Right? So the portion of the material that you are interested in. That's what you are interested in. And that's what the cookie cutter cuts. And the geometry decides what shape it takes. And that's what you have finally as your trimmed surface patch. Okay, I'll stop here and we will pick it up from here and then move on from this to solids in the next class. Okay, so if you have questions, please keep them and we will pick it up on the next class. Okay. Any quick questions? Yes, maybe I can answer them now. Otherwise, we will take it up again in the recap in the next class. Okay, I'll stop here and we'll meet you, I guess, next Monday now. So have a good festival season and see you back Monday morning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.